Hello and welcome to another Tabletop Ramblings Middle-earth strategy battle game battle report. Today's battle pitches the defenders of Helms Deep Legendary Legion against Isengard. Still weary from their victory at Helms Deep, the survivors of that fateful battle are heading back home, and they've been ambushed by the remnants of Isengard's force. Theoden, Aragorn and Gamling must fend off the attacks of Ugluk, a captain, and Thryden. Let's take a look at today's armies. Isengard are led by Ugluk, and he has with him 10 Uruk pikemen, 10 Uruks with shield, a berserker, and a scout with a bow. He's accompanied by a captain, and that captain has a shield, and he's also got 5 warriors with shield, 5 with pike, 1 with banner and pike, and a berserker. Providing the tactical flexibility and mobility to the army is Thryden Wolfsbane. He is mounted on a horse, he's got 4 crossbowmen with him, 2 scouts with bow, and 6 wargriders with shield. That is 600 points of Isengard. For the forces of good, the defenders of Helms Deep are led by Theoden King. He has 3 warriors with shield and throwing spear, 4 royal guard with shield and throwing spear, and 3 elves with bow and spear. He is accompanied by Aragorn, who's got Haleth tagging along, and they have 5 warriors with shield and throwing spear. Finally, following his lord, there's Gamling, and he has 8 warriors with shield and throwing spear, and 3 elves with bow and spear. And that is 600 points of the Defenders of Helms Deep Legendary Legion. Today's battle takes place as the weary and tired defenders of Helms Deep try and get back to Edoras. And so as they come upon this old abandoned village, they are pounced on by Isengard. So this is how the board is looking today. There are 5 objective markers on the board, because today's scenario is Domination. The 5 objective markers are the fallen Rohirrim in the centre, and then in the building, near the tree, near those trees, and in the blacksmith. And today, we're playing that these are terrain that is impossible to pass. Impassable terrain, in fact, is the phrase that we're looking for there. Those objective markers are where almost all of the victory points are found. Each one is worth 2 victory points if you have sole control of the objective at the end of the game. That is only your models within 3 inches at the end of the game. And they're worth 1 victory point each for each one that's contested, but you have more models than the enemy. Then the remaining victory points are made up of 1 victory point for wounding or killing the enemy leader, and 1 victory point for breaking the enemy. As always, victory points are tallied up once the game has ended, and this scenario ends at the end of a turn in which one force has been reduced to 25%. Deployment for this scenario is anywhere up to the halfway line, and as you can see, our forces have already deployed. First to deploy was the Uruk captain, followed by Aragorn, who is, as you can see, just slightly further forward. He's in charge range, but the rest of them are just out, as they all have throwing spears. Next to deploy was Thryden. He's gone up at the back, keeping his mobile units safe and ready to respond to where they're needed, and his archers to defend either of these objectives towards mid and late game. They were followed up by Theoden, who came in and just bolstered this line all the way along, getting a nice big shield wall. Finally, for Isengard, Ugluk came down and blocked off this street, and Gamling then responded, again staying out of charge range, ready to unleash a volley of spears. So with the game fully set up and all our forces deployed, it comes down to first turn priority. Evil will be rolling red dice and good will be in the green. And it goes to Isengard. At the end of turn 1 movement, there's not a lot of change, as Ugluk has pushed forward just a little bit, taunting Rohan to respond, but they have backed away. Same again in the centre here, they're formed up, and Rohan have backed away. All except Aragorn with his free heroic combat to try and cut down one of those and retreat. Isengard, with priority, couldn't really charge forward and get themselves surrounded, so they've had to play a more cautious game. And at the back, the archers have just consolidated onto the objectives, while these two have a nice firing line over that objective. That's all the movement. We'll go into the shoot phase. Isengard priority, those 2 crossbowmen are going to fire down this line and into the axemen. They haven't moved, obviously, with crossbows, so they're hitting on 4s. That's 1 hit. And it's 5s to wound. And he's dead. The first of the Rohirrim falls to a crossbow bolt. That is all of Evil shooting. We'll go into the volley of throwing spears. Beginning their volley, these 3 are going to throw into the Uruks at the front. And 1 hits. They've moved, so they're hitting on 5s. They're wounding now on 6s. No wound there. And all of these have been pre-measured. They are 6.5 inches away, so they're out of charge range but can easily throw, as can the back ranks. So we'll come on to these now. That's 4, and they are going to throw into the captain. 2 hits. 6s to wound. No wounds. And then the last volley for this section is these 4, and they're going after the Berserker. 2 hits again. Above average for hits, but still no wounds. So they are defense 5, however, they are defense 6 against range attacks, those Berserkers. So it's still 6s to wound. No wounds again. That is not a good start there for the throwing spears. But can the bows do any better? The bows are just going to go into the front ranks as well. Only 1 hit. They are more accurate, so they're hitting on 4s when they've moved, but no wound. So that entire section have all missed. We then come across to these 3, and they, again, are just going after the front rank. There's 1 hit, if we can get past the glare. It's a 6. Can it be another 6? No wound there. And then the 3 elven bowmen are going to shoot Ugluk, as he is the enemy leader. That is just 1 hit, because again, they've moved. So, does it go through the Berserker? Yes. Does it go through the Pikeman? Yes. So it's hit Ugluk, another 6. Oh, a 4. Not enough to wound Ugluk there. And then we'll come across, and we have 5 throwing spears here, and they are all just going to throw into these 2. The odds of them killing more than that are very, very low. So that is 3 hits. That is a good little volley there from Rohan. 3 hits. And there's a 6, and the first Uruk goes down. That entire volley of throwing spears and bows for one dead Uruk.
And they've already lost one of their own number to a crossbow bolt from just 2 crossbows. Not a very good trade-off, but we'll see how it progresses.
Into the combat phase, and Aragorn is going to call a heroic move. A heroic combat, rather. He is fighting against a shieldman and a pikeman. Aragorn has 3 attacks, and the Uruk wins. Oh dear me. Aragorn, he's going to have to spend a point of might so that his heroic combat goes off. That's his heroic combat was free because he gets 1 free every turn, but that one has to be from his store. So he's now down to 2 might, and he's wounding on 5s. He does get the kill. That is a dead Uruk, but probably not worth a point of might. In fact, we'll measure that out properly so that he's in line, because he will probably be in charge range, so it's quite important that that is done accurately. This is how we're looking at the end of turn 1. In the face of the might of Isengard, Rohan are pulling back, throwing their spears.
But so far, not many have found their mark, and they're giving up quite a lot of board control.
Let's go into turn 2 priority. And again, it goes to Isengard. End of turn 2 movement, and this is how we're looking. Rohan
Suffering for playing the long-range game. All of the cavalry have managed to charge, with Aragorn tied up on this Warg Rider, who's blocked in so that any heroic combat won't go too far, and mainly to protect Thryden, who is also in, just attacking 1, while the rest of the Warg Riders are all going in. And the Isengard infantry have linked together to form a formidable wall that Rohan's small numbers have attacked in the corner just to get a couple of advantageous fights. But here they have decided to just stand and do one last volley. Round the back, these 5 were wildly out of position and have just come up to throw their spears into the lower defence pikemen at the back, while Ugluk and the 2 Warg Riders are ready to pounce if next turn they try and come forward. And there's also a bowman moving, ready to get into firing range, while the rest of the ranged forces for Isengard just stay consolidated on those rear objectives. So that is how we're looking, and we'll go into the shoot phase. Isengard just have 1 shot. They have this bowman who's moved, shooting through the wheel onto one of those Rohirrim. He's going to be hitting on 5s. He has hit. Does he get through the woodwork on a 4+? Yes, he easily does there on the 6. And then he only has a strength 2 bow. Oh no, in fact, no, sorry. He's got a strength 3 bow because it's an Uruk bow, so he's wounding on 5s. Oh, but it's a 2. So the Isengard shooting doesn't quite manage to do the deed this turn. Sticking with the right flank, these 5 are going to volley into the rear pikemen. They've moved, so they're hitting on 5s. Oh, and that is abysmal. Just 1 hit. They are, however, wounding on 5s because the pikemen don't have shields. Can they get a kill? Yes. And a pikeman is dead. Gamling really should have gone in, but he didn't want to risk a fight that was a bit too even if the pikeman hadn't gone down. So that is a good volley there from those Rohirrim. Can these guys, oh dear, do some work as well? We'll go with the first 4 throwing spears, and they will go after the Berserker. If by some miracle they kill him, it'll be some of the other infantry. We'll just roll in a clear space. They get 2 hits. Oh, in fact, no, 3 hits because they've not moved. So, needing 6s. Oh, and that is a 6. That is a dead Berserker. He does have his feel no pain. On a 6+, he ignores it. Oh, and that is a 2. So, he is... Where's he going? He is dead. The volley now starting to do some work, killing a Berserker. pikeman and a sword and shield so far. Starting to recoup the points on the throwing spears. But also in this Legendary Legion, if you're not aware, they do count as normal spears as well, which is brilliant, especially for the old me 10 years ago thinking that there were spears anyway, playing against my friends. So these 4 bowmen are going to shoot, and they are going to go after the pikeman behind. This chap will have a clear shot, so we'll do him first. Oh, that's cocked. He's hit. 5s to wound. No. So he's not wounded, and then we'll do the other 3, but we'll grab the those dice up in a sec. There we go. We've grabbed those dice. It's surprisingly difficult to do while holding a camera and in these small little fighting pits like this. So the 3 bowmen left that are going to have in the ways on pikemen. So we'll roll them. Just 1 hit. Does it hit the guy in front or the pikeman? It hits the pikeman. Another 5+. No, just a 2. So the pikeman lives. And that is that full volley done. And so we will... Oh, is that chap? I can't actually remember if he's thrown or not. We'll say he already has, because I couldn't remember. So we will go into the combat phase. Start of the combat phase, and Aragorn, with his free point of might, is going to be calling a heroic combat. Thryden is not going to call a heroic combat, because if he goes first, the only real thing he can do is come around the back, and that leaves him vulnerable to getting sniped off by Aragorn. He'd much rather fight Aragorn on his own terms. So it's just Aragorn with a heroic move, heroic combat rather, so we'll do that one first. We'll set the bar with the charging Warg Rider. Oh, who gets a 6? Good work there from the Warg Rider. So can Aragorn beat him? Yes. Straight away, Aragorn gets the 6, wins the fight on fight value, because he is an amazing fight 7 with Haleth nearby. If Haleth is in combat, all friendly Rohirrim and Aragorn gain +1 to their fight value. So that makes Aragorn fight 7. Let's roll for his wounds. He's going to be wounding on 5s. And he kills. We'll then do Haleth on the Warg. Haleth has 2 attacks. If Aragorn is within 6 inches, he's going after the Warg. And he kills the Warg as well. So there's no need to do the courage test. And that is a dead Warg. And now Haleth and Aragorn will both get to move. So Aragorn has gone in on this chap, and Haleth has gone in on that Warg Rider. We'll just go down the line for the combats, and we'll do this one here. It's 2 elves against a charging Warg Rider, so it's 2 on 2. And it's a draw, so it goes to the elves on fight value. They are fight 5. And they kill there, getting the Warg Rider. They have brought him down. So the courage test for his Warg, does it stay? Absolutely not there. That is a dead Warg Rider. Not good for Thryden. He needs a lot of models around him to keep him protected. We'll then do this one here. It's a 2 on 1. So that infantry is going to shield, doubling his dice to win the fight, but he can't make strikes. It's paid off. He's won. So the Warg Rider backs away and is unable to harm him. And then we have Thryden. Thryden is 3 attacks on the charge against a shielding warrior of Rohan. And Thryden is just going to use his sword. He's not going to use his big 2-handed axe. He has won that fight. The warrior has gone up to fight 4, but Thryden there, fight 5. Wasn't quite enough movement on this chap to get into spear support him. Otherwise, that would have been a draw there. So Thryden has won the fight. Can he kill? These are double strikes. He needs 4s to wound. Yeah, he's absolutely smashed into bits with his mighty strength 5. And oh, he's prone anyway. No one needs to make way if they don't want to. So that's fine. And then we'll come across to this 2 and Haleth on a Warg Rider. We'll let the Warg Rider set the bar. And he gets the 6. They're good at setting the bar, these Warg Riders. We then have 2 and Haleth. Haleth will be the bigger green dice. And they get the 6 as well. And they have fight value 5 in this fight because of the Royal Guard and Haleth in combat. So that is a good result there. Haleth will go after the Rider with both of his. He kills the Rider, and then the other 2, we'll grab that in a second, the other 2 will go after the Warg. And they don't kill it, so we'll do the courage test for the Warg. But it fails anyway, and goes down, leaving Thryden quite exposed. We then, now that that Warg's gone, it's easier to get these dice. We then have Aragorn on 2. If they can win this fight, they'll be in quite a good position here against Aragorn, because he's already used his free might. They could hopefully drain some more resources, or even get a cheeky wound would be nice. So it's 3 for Aragorn against 2 from Isengard. Oh, it's a draw, and they lose. It's very, very unlikely that that banner's in the way. Yeah, it's absolutely miles away. So Aragorn wins it on a 4. If they'd have fought harder, they could have really had a good go then. And he gets the kill there. He only needs a 5, and he gets it with the 6. So that's another dead Uruk. We then come across to this fight here. It's Theoden and 2. He's making sure that he's got a lot of help in this fight. Doesn't want to take any wounds. He is the leader. So Theoden with his 2 attacks are the big dice. And his friends are the little ones. And the Uruk's obviously in red. Oh, another draw. But again, the fight value of Rohan wins that fight. And then it is... Oh, with pikemen, it's 5s all around. Yeah, Theoden really doing the work there. His friends just taunting them with wands while he cuts them to bits. Have we just removed both of those? No. So that chap backed away. Oh dear. Let me just double check that footage. What's going on? Yeah, so sorry about that. That's trying to talk and play at the same time. So Theoden did get enough to kill both, but obviously he can't kill a spear support. He's not got that kind of reach with his arm, so he has just backed away. We then come across to the last fight, which is this 2 on 2. It's another draw and another fight that goes in favour of Rohan. Haleth's buff for being in combat is, as long as he's in combat and hasn't died, then it lasts all turn. So if he's killed, it turns off. But as long as he's fought or is still in combat, then the buff is active. So on a draw, the Rohirrim win and need 6s to wound. Oh, not quite enough to get through the tough armour of the Uruk-hai. And that is the last combat of the turn. End of turn 2 movement. This is how the board is shaping up. The combats on the left have gone surprisingly well for Rohan, but they are still quite heavily outnumbered. Let's go into turn 2, priority. And it's a draw, so this time it goes to Rohan. The Balrog wasn't invited to this party, but if he was, he'd say please like, comment and subscribe. Start the movement phase, and with good priority, this captain here is going to call a heroic move. He wants to shut off all of those throwing spears, and he wants to make sure Thryden, who's just in range, can get his charge bonus. Aragorn, with his 3 point of might, is going to counter. So it's a roll off. On a 1, 2 or 3 it goes to evil. On a 4, 5, 6 it goes to good. And it goes to good. This is how we're looking after turn 3 movements. And the lines have fully clashed. On the left, Thryden is surrounded by Theoden, Haleth and friends, and everywhere the lines have met. Up here, these 2, or 3 in fact, sacrificial lambs try to hold back this reinforcement tide of Ugluk, Warg Riders, and a bowman who's joined the fight, while 2 of their number manage to charge around the back. The fighting is going to be incredibly fierce, but just before we get into it, there are going to be some bow shots. Trying to film across this glare is not too easy, but hopefully you can see that there is a archer and a crossbowman, and Aragorn is down here. And they're going to try and shoot into Aragorn. So the bigger dice is the crossbow. Oh, and it's a crossbow that hits. Does it hit the pikeman or does it hit Aragorn? It hits Aragorn. It's gone through the pikeman and then wounding Aragorn on 5s. Oh, so close. Aragorn there shrugs that off and is absolutely fine. And that is the end of the shoot phase. Before we forget though, one thing that should be mentioned is that during the move phase, none of the throwing spears did anything except for this incredible chap who got a wound on the captain. Back to the combat phase then. At the start of the phase, Thryden and Theoden will both be calling heroic strikes. Aragorn has already used his free point of might on a move, so he is not going to call anything. We'll do the big hero fight last. We'll do this one first. So that is just a one-on-one because it was the Rohirrim that charged, and it goes to Rohan. And then on the Orc, he's looking for 5s. Oh, not quite. That Warg Rider backs away. We'll then do this fight here, and in fact, we'll just shimmy him away so that we know he's not fighting Thryden, in case we forget. So then we have this 2-on-1. The pikemen against the 2 Rohan spearmen. They easily win. He's out of banner range, and actually he's lost on fight value anyway. And then 5s to kill him. Nope, he is fine. He backs away. Let's see if we can rescue those dice. And then come across to Aragorn. We'll set the bar with the Uruks. Can they get a 6? Put some pressure on him. No, it's a 5. We'll banner reroll though. 2 of 4. So 5 high for the Urukai. Let's see what Aragorn can get. Can Aragorn get the 6? Yeah, he's easily got the 6 there. He's won that fight. And then he is going to be wounding. He's going to be wounding both of those on 5s. So we'll roll them all together. And 2 6s. He has killed the pikeman and the swordman. And he has to back away. He's going to back away into formation there with the banner. So that is good work there from Aragorn, who is really cutting through numbers so far. We'll then do the captain. This Uruk captain against 2. And then there's also a banner support. The banner support will be the big red dice, and that's a -1 there. Oh, and it's the -1 that's got that's got the 6, but it's irrelevant because they have won, and there's no banner in the Rohan force, which is a bit of a shame. But trying to put the banner on gambling in this list just really, really overstretched it, and there were not enough people. So rolling to wound, absolutely slaughters that warrior of Rohan there. And that is another kill. Both sides, whenever they win, they do tend to get kills. Both of these lists are brutal. 2 on 2. It goes to evil, and then wounding on 5s. Oh, we've jinxed it. That is no wound there. The shield just enough to keep him alive. We'll then do this one, and that Berserker has 2 attacks. So it's 3 attacks on 2. The elf does give them the fight value advantage. Oh, and it's enough. They win. The banner is in range, but it's not enough to beat the elven fight there. The elf has taken that. They are wounding on 5s, and they've killed him. Can he feel no pain it? That's the special rule that if he gets a 6, then he wouldn't have died. He'd have shrugged it off just like fate. But he is dead. Those 2 doing some good work there. As we come across to this fight, and that Rohan warrior is going to shield. So that is 2 on 2. Is he shielding? Oh, it doesn't help him. It nearly did on the 5, but 6 from Isengard means they're now wounding on 5s. Oh, and again. Oh, I've cursed them, saying that they always kill. Nightmare for Isengard there. We'll then come across to Gambling and a
Galadrim warrior against 2 Uruks. And we'll set the bar with the Uruks. They get a 5. Let's find a dice for the Galadrim. There we go. So that's then the Galadrim and Gamling. And they win there. They get the draw. It is enough. The Isengard banner is miles away. So we'll roll these to wound. And the purple dice for the elf is needing 6s. Oh dear me. That is atrocious. I don't think that's cocked enough. Yeah, you can balance the dice on it. So that is very, very poor there for wounding. Really have cursed it. They back away. Here we have another 2-on-1. So again, the Warrior of Rohan is going to shield. Oh, he tried his absolute best, but without Haleth's aura around him, and Haleth is absolutely miles away. Without that aura, he is a lower fight value, so he's going down on 5s, and that is a dead Warrior of Rohan with a big gap there in the defensive line. We'll then do this fight here. The 2 elves against 1. He's one way around. He is not going to shield. He's just going to fight it. And it pays off. He's won. He's got the 6. He needs 5s to kill. Oh, not quite. Not quite enough to kill these Galadrim. Then we've got a 2-on-1. And again, in fact, not again. This time it goes to good. And wounding on 5s. No kill there. We've then got the fighting up here. We have the charging warg and a bowman against a warrior of Rohan. So that is 3 attacks on 2 because he's obviously going to shield, but it has not helped him and he has lost. Can I pick these up? A very dodgy angle there. Let's come up this way. So then wounding on 5s. They're all strength 4 there, but it doesn't do anything. He backs off. He's prone. We'll put a prone marker on him in a moment. That's bad work there from the warg and archer. They should have got that kill. Can Ugluk with his 2 attacks, and then the 1, in fact 2 from the charging warg rider. Can they do the work against these 2 Rohirrim there? Rohirrim will set the bar with a mighty 6. That is good work there from Rohan. The warg rider also gets the 6, and Ugluk's fight value takes it. So Ugluk is going to try and get the kill there. He's strength 5. Yeah, he absolutely smashes him to pieces. And that is a dead Rohan warrior. That then is the end of the phase and the end of the turn. In fact, no, it is not the end of the turn. The last fight is striking Thryden against striking Theoden. We'll do their strikes now. Ooh, and Thryden hits fight 10 with Theoden only at fight 8. Ooh, so if Thryden can get the 6, he's won this fight. Theoden can, with his special sword, he can feint regardless of fight value. So he is effectively going to stab, but without any negatives if he loses. So let's roll. We'll roll for Theoden and co first. We'll let them set the bar as they've got the lower fight value. Got a lot of dice. We've got the little ones being the standard infantry. Oh, and in fact, there's those 2 elves as well. So that's 4 for the standard infantry. And then the blue will be Haleth, and the big green ones will be Theoden. So can they get the 6? Oh dear. No, they don't. Although Haleth's got a 5 and he does have a point of might. So Thryden here needs to get the 6, or at least something that can be mighted to a 6. He's still got 3 might. And he gets the 6. He doesn't need might. He has won the fight. He's not got a charge bonus because he didn't charge, but he does have mighty blow, so he is very, very nasty against heroes, and he has just won the fight against Theoden. So he's going to roll both of those strikes against Theoden. He's strength 5 against defense 7,
5s to wound. Oh, and there is a wound. So now we will just double check the rules as to how Mighty Blow works. So we've just double checked. A Mighty Blow means that one wound becomes 2, but the double up effect is after fate. So Theoden can hopefully shrug off both of those wounds with 1 point of fate. And it's a 1! Theoden has already spent a point of might on a strike. Theoden is dead. He's got 2 wounds, 1 fate, and on a 1, the only result that would kill him, a 1 means that even with his 2 might, that Mighty Blow has killed Theoden in 1 sword strike. Thryden, you absolute beast. Oh, that is a big, big blow to Rohan. And that really is now the end of the turn. With the death of King Liability, this is how the board is looking at the end of turn 3. The battle really shaping up and the casualties flowing in favour of Rohan, but they have lost their king. This is not going as they had planned. Let's roll for turn 4 priority. And it goes to Rohan. With Rohan priority for turn 4, this captain is calling a heroic move, and Aragorn is going to counter. And then up at the top, Ugluk is going to call a heroic move, and he is going uncountered. With both sides declaring heroic moves, we'll roll off, and we'll see which side is going to go first. And on a 1, 2 or 3, it's evil, and that is a 1. So evil will choose which of theirs they want to go first, and then obviously it alternates after that. So it will be Aragorn after. The captain's heroic move has managed to tie up most of the Rohan force and has allowed Thryden to get his charge bonus. And importantly, they've tagged up Aragorn turning off his heroic move, which has meant Ugluk has been able to call his. He has then charged those 2, allowing the Warg Riders to squeeze through this gap that was just big enough for a base, and allowing them to get in and get the charge off, staying within 6 inches of Ugluk. So 2 very successful heroic moves for Isengard. We'll come back after the rest of the move. This is how we're looking at the end of turn 4 movement, and the impact of Theoden's death and the shock reverberating through the defenders of Helms Deep has allowed Isengard to pounce. All along the line, they are getting in some good favourable combats for Isengard. They've managed to break through here and charge all along. There was very little that the defenders of Helms Deep could do about it. Thryden here is overwhelmed on the left flank, which is Rohan's only real strength here in this fight. They do have the left fairly tucked up unless Thryden can continue his killing spree. Amazingly, this chap on his charge killed the Warg Rider, and the Warg failed its courage, which meant that this chap could move up and claim this objective, which was a nice result there for Rohan, but they are very beleaguered and embattled here, and it is going to be a lot of weight, realistically, on Aragorn's shoulders to turn this around. Let's go into the shoot phase. In the shoot phase, we have 2 crossbows and a bow going after Aragorn. None of them have moved, so they're all hitting on 4s, and there is just 1 crossbow bolt that has hit. And then, does it hit friend or foe? Oh, it hits the pikeman. Can they kill him? Which actually would be quite good if they could turn off that free heroic combat. Oh, actually, no, he's spent his might, hasn't he? No, they don't kill him there on the 3. So, ineffectual shooting, but worth a go, trying to get a cheeky wound on Aragorn. That is all of the shots. We'll go into the combat phase. In the combat phase, Thryden is calling a heroic strike, and Haleth is using his only point of might for a heroic defence. Up here, Aragorn is going to call a heroic combat. He's already called a heroic move, but he is going to spend a point of might from his store to call a heroic combat. That's all of the heroics. Ugluk is going to save his for later. Let's get stuck into these combats. We'll start off up at the top right with Ugluk against a warrior. And that warrior is going to shield. Oh, shielding definitely doesn't help in there against 2 mighty 6s. And then he just needs 4 to wound. Oh dear. Abysmal work there from Ugluk. Good job he didn't bother calling a heroic combat. As he got 2 2s. We then have a 1-on-1. The bowman against the warrior. That's very much cocked. Although it's irrelevant because that 6 wins it on the Uruk-hai fight value. Needing 5s to kill? No. And these sacrificial lambs are holding their own there. They have done well. We'll come to these fights though. These are the charging warg riders against shielding warriors. The shielding warrior here has won. Good for Rohan. Bad for Isengard. They need to cut through as many Rohirrim as possible. Can this chap do it? That's another shielding. Oh, and it's a draw. Haleth is miles away for the fight value bonus. So it's a 1, 2, 3 evil. And is that cocked? It's hard to tell, to be honest. Yeah, I think that would have rolled off if it hadn't hit the elf. So we'll re-roll that. And it goes to evil. So first set of double strikes kills him. So one of those warg riders has done the work and has got a kill there. We'll then come down to this fight. It's a 2-on-1. That elf is going to fight normally. He's not going to two-hand, although it would have made no difference. He's lost the fight and he's going down on 5s. But he's safe. He backs away. In fact, he backs away slightly closer to the objective. Then we've got a 1-on-1. And it's a draw, so this time it is the elf needing 6s. No wound there, so this pikeman gives way and he backs up. We'll sort that out later. And then we've got a 1-on-1. Another draw, and the elf wins, needing 5s this time against the pikeman, and he's got him. He has killed. That is vital for Rohan to start clearing out some numbers. We then have Gamling against 2. Gamling only has even fight value here. Oh, but he wins it anyway. He wins it on the 5. He's won that fight and he needs 5s to wound. There we go. He's got the kill. He's been quite solid this game. Just slowly munching away through the infantry. We then have a 1-on-1. It's a draw. Haleth's miles away, so it goes to evil. Needing 5s. Oh, just a 1. Not very good at all. He backs away. We then have a 2-on-2, in fact. I'm not going to have an elf fighting a warrior of Rohan. That would be madness. And it goes to Rohan, except there is the banner. 2 or 3. It's not enough. So that pikeman then, with no shield, will be wounded. If we can ever get hold of that dice, will be wounded on 5s. And they get him. Another pikeman falls. He is going to move back so that he's touching the banner just in case something nasty happens. Then we've got the captain. Oh, he is going to be very trapped, isn't he? However, it is Rohan's priority, so that's fine. So it's 2 against the captain. And then there's also the banner. So the banner will be the small one. The captain will be the big red dice. Oh, and the captain's lost and he's out of might. He's got a banner reroll, which I think it was that one, but either way, it's 3s. So not enough. The captain loses. And he's going to take double strikes from these 2 chaps who back away because they've done the trapping. And then double strikes. He's got a shield, that chap. So they are going to be wounding, or either way actually, they're wounding on 6s. No wounds there. That captain shrugs it off. And he only has 1 wound. He's still got his fate, but he's got 1 wound after a throwing spear landed straight in his face. We've then got a 1-on-1. And it goes to evil. Despite the toughened armour of a Royal Guard, still 5s. Oh dear. We'll roll that away from all these dice. Let's just clear that away. Oh, and it is a 5, especially as I think that might have been a 4 before. But that is unfortunate there for Rohan. Going down. Another warrior. We've got this fight though. This is Aragorn, who forgot to call a heroic combat, although it wouldn't have been free. So we'll roll him first. That's the Aragorn and the warrior there. They get the 6. And then can they kill him? Yes, Aragorn guts the pikeman there on a 6. And then we've got a 2-on-1. Which is a draw. However, they're easily within 6 inches of Haleth now. So they win that on a draw because of the Royal Guard. But they do not wound. And then it is the big fight here. We'll just roll Thryden strike in case he can feint. So he is fight 8. He is not going to feint just in case he drops. Oh, in fact, yes. Yeah, you can lose 3, can't you, if you really bottle it. And then he would be the same fight value as those elves. So he's not going to feint. He's on the charge. We'll let him roll first. Is he going to get the 6 and win this fight? Yes. He has won the fight. That is big there for Thryden, as all of these chaps are knocked prone. So now we have double strikes on the warrior of Rohan first. He's killed. On the elf. Ooh, the elf's still alive, so the next double strike, and it kills the elf. He's ignoring Haleth there because Haleth has used a heroic defense, so it would only be natural 6s to wound him. But Haleth is knocked prone. And that is the end of the combats and the end of the turn. End of turn 4 movement, and it is absolute carnage. The lines are embroiled and a lot of dead Rohan and Isengard alike. Let's roll for turn 5 priority. It goes to Isengard. Isengard priority. So Aragorn is going to call a heroic move. And Thryden is going to counter. Let's roll for who is going first. It goes to Aragorn. It's the middle of Rohan's move with the heroic move from Aragorn, and a 5 followed by a 5 has killed the banner, and everything else is around it is tagged. So that throwing spear charge has killed it, and then he is able to finish his move by going in on the captain. That was a big swing there in favour of Rohan, getting the a free kill effectively on the banner. Definitely worth going for throwing spears there. They generally do nothing, which is why they're not filmed, but that one was absolutely brilliant. After turn 5 move, this is how the board is looking. The objective down here has now been claimed by Rohan, but with these 3 in Rohan hands and this one here contested, it's still very, very tight for Rohan now. Especially here, where the heroic move from Aragorn didn't reach, and with Isengard priority, the wargs have charged, and Ugluk is getting closer onto that contested objective. Thryden is still looking quite overwhelmed, and he didn't get the charge this time, so he's going to hope that he can somehow win that fight and stay alive. Let's go into the shoot phase. The crossbows and that bowman again are going to fire into Aragorn. Hitting on 4s. Ooh, both the crossbows hit. Do they hit Aragorn or do they hit the pikeman? They both hit Aragorn. That is a good result there. And one is a wound. That is a wound on Aragorn. Aragorn rolling fate has failed. Oh, and has failed again. His final fate has failed. Unbelievable. The fate rolling for Rohan has been atrocious. That is all 3 fate and a wound off Aragorn, leaving him very, very vulnerable. And 1 less trick in Rohan's box. That is abysmal work there from Aragorn. He probably should have burnt some might earlier on, saving that fate. That was atrocious. Well, it should be expected the way that all of the fate rolls have gone for Rohan. Let's go into the combat phase. Start of the combat phase then, and Aragorn is calling a heroic combat. The reason he didn't burn that might on fate is because he needs it for combat, and he's using 1 from his store, leaving him with just 1 left to call a heroic combat. Bit high risk, but he needs to cut Uruks down. Thryden is using his last point to call a heroic strike. And then over here, we have another point of might being spent from Ugluk on a heroic combat. Both Ugluk and Aragorn have called the heroic combats, so we'll roll off to see who goes first. And it goes to evil, so Ugluk's combat will be first. Ugluk with his 2 attacks will be the bigger dice, and then the pikeman will be the smaller dice, and the warrior is going to shield. Oh, and it goes, as much as the warrior did his best with a 6, it goes to evil. Then it is 4s on Ugluk's dice, and that 5 easily does it. So he is dead, and then easily within range, these guys are just going to jump in to attack and clear off the elves from the objective. In fact, he is going after him. And then Ugluk is going after him. That's what happens when you're filming, you zoom out, you suddenly see there's better moves. So that is Ugluk's heroic move, heroic combat rather, and now it is Aragorn's go. Aragorn, with his 3 attacks, he really needs this to come off because he has lost 3 fate and a wound for this gamble. Oh, he wins it there on the 6. Nothing that Isengard can do, especially as their banner has been flash killed. So now it is 5s to wound. He needs 2 5+s here, and he gets it. He has got a 5 and a 6. That was, well, hopefully worth the gamble, but we'll see. He's killed 2 so far. Where is he going to go that's going to make the biggest difference? He is going to have a think about that, and we'll come back. So Aragorn has thrown himself round and has gone after this Warg Rider. He's putting himself close to this objective to make sure that they can take it back, and also threatening Ugluk. Now let's do the rest of the fights. And in fact, we might as well stick with that fight. So it is Aragorn against the Warg Rider, and there's also this elf in the fight as well. The elf will be the blue dice. And Aragorn wins that. That was a bit high risk, because if he'd lost, then he could have died there, as he's very, very vulnerable. But they've won, and they have managed to get the kill. Does the Warg stay? Probably should have split those across. Ooh, very close. 1 less than needed. The Warg and Warg Rider are dead. And that is another kill there. And potentially saving that elf's life. So worth the point of might. Not necessarily worth 3 points of fate and a wound, but we'll see. The next fight is this one and Ugluk against an elf. The elf isn't trapped, but he is in a lot of trouble. He can't shield because he's not got one. So we'll just hope that he can get the 6. No chance. He is absolutely stuffed. And Ugluk there has got the kill. Strength 4, defense 4. Absolutely rips him apart. He backs away and then he is dead. do this fight here. It's another fight that's not in favour of the defenders of Helms Deep, although we're giving them more dice. So it's 2 on 1. Oh, and the elf wins. He's going to go after the pikeman because it's 5s to wound. Can he do it? No. But he's not dead, and he is helping to contest that objective. That is important. We'll then do a 1 on 1 here. Elf against warrior. Oh, and the elf absolutely bottled it. He's not even facing the right way. Can the Uruk split his skull? No. He's nimble enough to spin round and back away, and he's absolutely fine. He's a Legolas in the making. We then have a shieldman against Gamling, and he's actually going to shield. And he wins. He pushes Gamling back. Gamling does have all of his might left, so he could pump it up, but it would then just go to a 50-50, and it's not worth a point of might. So we'll do a 1 on 1 here. And it goes to evil. Can the pikeman kill him? Yes. Oh, that's nasty. Every fallen Rohirrim now is nasty, especially around this objective. And with the heroes, they need some support. Speaking of heroes, we'll do the captain second, because this will trap him, and it is Isengard's priority. So we'll do this fight here. It's a 1 on 1. Isengard wins, doesn't kill, so that's him pushed back. And then we have the captain here. So that is 3 against the captain's 2. Ooh, and I believe that is going to be a draw. Yes, Haleth is within 6, very easily within 6. So his fight value goes up to a 5, so it is a draw. Who's going to win? It goes to good. Ooh, can they do it? He can back away through this gap, but he has only got 1 wound, 1 fate, so they could do this now. They could kill him if they get some 6s. No, and the Uruk backs away. That captain shrugs off those strikes and is fine. We'll then do this 1 on 1. It's a pikeman against a warrior. Oh, and the warrior loses. But he doesn't die. That's important for Rohan. And then we come to the final fight. It's the battered and beleaguered Haleth and co. against Thryden. Thryden strikes. We'll see what he goes up to in case he can feint. He goes up to fight 8, so he's not going to feint. But he is higher fight value. We'll roll for the 3 and Haleth. Haleth now actually only has 1 attack because Aragorn has Foxtrot Oscar all the way over to the right. So they only have the 4 dice instead of 5. Can they get the 6? Yes. Oh, yes and yes and yes. 3 6s there. We'll not talk about that 3, but the 3 6s puts a lot of pressure on Thryden. Let's give him the big dice. He has the fight value. If he gets a 6, he's won. Oh, and he bottles it. A 3 and a 2. He has bottled it. He's trapped as well. So this could be messy times for Thryden, who as well has taken a wound from the throwing spear that went in as well. Right, so do they go for his horse or do they go for him? They're going to risk it and they're going to go after Thryden himself. Let's gather up some dice. So Thryden is only defense 5, but he does have 1 wound and 2 fate. He's actually a 3 might, 2 will, 2 fate hero, which is unusual for evil. So he's still quite unlikely to die, but there's a lot of dice needing 5. So 3 5s to guarantee the kill. They're going to ignore his horse and they're going for gold. Oh, and they've done it! They've got 2 5s and a 6. Thryden is dead. He has been on a rampage and he has slaughtered many Rohirrim and elves and even the king himself, but now has finally fallen. Haleth there, getting revenge for his king. That is a good turnout there for Rohan to try and consolidate on the left and to try and salvage this battle. Panning across, actually, there are 2 last combats. there's this fight here. So 1-on-1, it goes to Rohan, but he fails to wound. And then a charging Warg Rider against a shielding Rohirrim. Oh dear, and the Rohirrim loses there, and he's going to go down on 5s. These are double strikes, nothing from the first lot. And oh, there we go, the 5 was hiding. That final kill of the turn goes to the Warg Rider. The battle's really starting to shape up now. Both sides very close to broken. And in fact, Isengard have tipped over the breakpoint for standard, the 50%, but they're not quite at the 66% loss that their army bonus means they need to be below before they start taking courage tests. So let's roll for turn 6 priority. And it goes to Isengard. With evil priority, Aragorn is calling a heroic move. There's only 1 point of might left on Ugluk, so he is going to save that for a strike. So that means Aragorn's heroic move will go off uncontested. End of turn 6 move, and Aragorn's heroic move has managed to get Aragorn and Gamling onto a trapped Ugluk. They've managed to turn off the charge bonus from the Warg Rider and have just tried to hold back as many Uruks as possible to help Aragorn and Gamling get that kill and get some VPs. The captain ran off, but Haleth and a Royal Guard have given chase, leaving the 2 beleaguered Uruks there to fight 2-on-1 fights. The Uruks have ceded the left, but are maintaining good board control over the rest of the battle. Let's go into the shoot phase. The Isengard shoot phase is the same 2 crossbowmen and bowmen. This time they're going to go after this pikeman fight. They all hit. There's a good set of hits there. Friend or foe? Oh, does the pikeman die? No. But then these ones are on the elf and the warrior of Rohan. It's 5s apiece. They'll prioritise the elf. Neither of them go down. Very unlucky shooting there from Isengard. That's the end of the shooting phase, as these have moved and it's not worth shooting that crossbow into a mounted unit. So we're going to go into the fight phase. Start of the fight phase, and Ugluk is calling a heroic strike. Aragorn is countering, and Gamling is going to spend his first point of might on a heroic combat for the ultimate in gamble. So, as that's a heroic combat, we'll do that first. First of all, though, we have to find out what the strikes go to. So, Ugluk and Aragorn. Oh, and Aragorn's fight 10 easily does it there. He has beaten the fight value of Ugluk. So, Aragorn, we'll find some dice for Gamling. So, Gamling will be the big ones, and smaller ones for Aragorn. They need a 6 to win. Oh, they don't get it, but at least Gamling there has got a 5, and that's mightable. And it needs to be spent, so another point of might there from Gamling to win the fight. Ugluk has at least put up a really good fight there. So they'll back away, and they're going to make strikes at Ugluk. They back away because Ugluk is trapped. And that's also part of the reason for the heroic combat, was to do that first, despite Isengard priority, just to make sure that he would be trapped. So these are double strikes, and they all need 5s. Oh, and straight off, without even needing to double them up, Ugluk is dead. The gamble's paid off, and now Aragorn and Gamling are moving again. After that incredible heroic combat, killing the enemy leader, Gamling has stayed near the objective, and Aragorn has rocked off up here towards the Warg Rider, and hopefully, if you can really get a wiggle on, that objective up at the top. We'll stick with Aragorn, and we'll do Aragorn and friend against a charging Warg Rider. Oh, actually, I don't think he charged, but either way, he lost that fight. Aragorn there, getting the 6. No, in fact, his friend getting the 6. So then to wound, fairly poor from Aragorn, but again, his friend gets the 6. Does the warg stay? Yes, the warg does stay. That is an impressively brave warg there. We'll whip him off, and he backs away. He's going to tuck in there. The brave warg there has withstood the might of Aragorn and friend. We've then got this 2-on-1. Elf just going to fight normally. He's lost, unfortunately. Can he survive? No, the elf is dead. 1 less. Good model to contest this objective. We've then got another 1-on-1. Another fight anyway that's a 1-on-1. Cox. It goes to evil. Oh, but he survives. We then have a 2-on-1. And it's a draw. So it goes to good. And he's going to try and kill this chap who's closest to the objective. And he gets him. He has killed an Uruk. That is good work there from the elf. We've then got this chap. Oh, in fact, I think it was a 1-on-1 and a 1-on-1. So we'll do that 1-on-1. It goes to the Uruk. 5's to kill. And he goes down. Oh, dear. Not as good a result as we were hoping. We've then got a 1-on-1. It goes to evil. 5's to kill him. No, he's not dead. So he backs away. And we then have here, Haleth and friends on the captain. We'll let the captain set the bar. He gets a 6, so he's doing well. And, Aragorn's miles away from Haleth again. So Haleth only has 1 attack. Oh, and they absolutely bottle it. There is no shred of a 6 there. So the captain is going to go after the Royal Guard first. Nope. And no. So that Royal Guard backs away, as does Haleth. Decided not to go after Haleth, simply because Haleth has quite a bit of fate, and it was unlikely that he'd get the kill. So then a 2-on-1, and that Uruk is going to shield. It doesn't pay off for him, because Haleth was in combat and isn't dead. So here they are, fight 5, the Royal Guard. So they've won, needing 6s. They've not got the kill. So he backs away. Tries to take his enemy with him. And then another 2-on-1. The elf and man have won, needing 5s. And they've killed him. Another Uruk goes down. And that is the last combat of the fight phase. End of turn 6, this is how the board is looking. Both forces are battered and both forces are now broken. This could well be going into one of the final turns and the Uruk-hai still have the board control. Can the defenders of Helms Deep pull this back? Let's go into turn 7 priority. It's Isengard priority. Let's see what they do in their movement phase. Isengard priority and Rohan didn't call any heroic moves so that they'd take some courage tests, and they have absolutely bottled it. Started off just marking the failures but ran out of dice, so had to mark off those that survived instead. He failed, but at least 1 stayed on the objective. Both of these failed. So this chap here that passed ran back to hold the objective. The warg amazingly passed and charged into Aragorn and the warrior that killed his rider last turn. And then down here, it was horrendous. The captain failed, as did everyone except this pikeman who has charged into Gamling. That is an unbelievable number of fails. Statistically, very unlikely that they would all bar 1 fail down here, but that is just the luck of the dice. A lot of 6s. Back in the day, I'm sure the blue book, the old rules, they were courage 4. Lots of them would have passed, but they're now courage 3, and they've just fled the field. They're definitely 25%ed.
this will be the last turn. We'll come back after Rohan's movement. This is the battlefield at the end of turn 7 move. The objective here, contested by 1 pikeman, has been surrounded. Aragorn still fighting them, and then the 2 objectives up at the top are held by Uruks. This objective down here is held by Rohan, so it's quite even, and a lot of it is going to come down to this objective in the centre. The Rohirrim have all advanced. None of them could reach the Uruk there that passed his courage, but they are all in throwing spear range for one last Hail Mary, and this bowman has moved across so that he can get a shot at the bowman up there and try and clear him off that objective. It's Isengard priority though, so they are going to be shooting first, and that Uruk bowman is going to try and take out the archer. He's hit. Can he kill it? He's killed him! He has killed the elven bowman and whipped out any hope of the elf from clearing that objective. That is a good defensive shot there. And that bowman now doesn't need to take the ridiculous shot through them. And he's just going to go after one of the Royal Guard. He's hit as well. Needs a 5 to wound. Oh, not quite. But the bow shot that mattered was successful. And then that bowman up there moved full. So now we come to the Rohan volley, and they really need to kill that crossbowman there, who with hindsight should have hidden behind the building, but he's obviously not that bright, or he's just got a serious macho complex and he's going to weather this storm. They've all moved. Ooh, so that's just 1 hit. It's going to be 5s to wound. Can they clear that objective? No, he stood there, nice and brave, bold as brass, and has just weathered that storm. That is a tough cookie. Moving into the combat phase, we then have the pikeman here, who's going to set the bar against Haleth and co. He's got a 2. Haleth's just going to roll his attacks. He's finally caught up to Aragorn. He's got 2 attacks. Oh dear, he's only drawn the fight, but it is enough to win. He's then going to make his strikes. Oh, and it's not enough. So, oh, he's got double strikes. Still not enough. That's 1 and a 2 for a 1 and a 2. So we'll do Gamling. He's got double strikes, and Gamling gets the kill. Gamling shows the kid how to do it. So they back away because they did the trapping and making sure they've got some guys within 3 of the objective. And then we have Aragorn. He's not going to bother declaring a heroic combat because he's too far away to do anything about that objective. So Aragorn against the Warg. Aragorn has won. There is the friend in there, but we'll just see if Aragorn can do it for speed. Yes, Aragorn has cut him down, and that is the end of the game because there are very, very few Uruks now after a lot of failed courage tests. And this is the table at the end of the game. That was a brutal, bloody affair with not many surviving on either side. The Uruks have the top 2 objectives and Rohan have the bottom 2, and the centre is contested. So you may have already guessed where this is going. It's 5 apiece for objectives. Both are broken for 1 point, and both have killed the enemy leader for 1 point. It is a 7-7 draw. MVPs for this game has to be Thryden and Aragorn. Aragorn cut through swathes of Uruks and definitely helped to win that by breaking the enemy. And Thryden was just an absolute monster. He killed quite a lot of infantry and he took down Theoden, ensuring the draw there with the leader kill. That was an incredibly close game, pitting the 2 rivals of Rohan and Isengard against each other. I hope you enjoyed that, and I'll see you next time.